On your mark, get set. Let's go.
I can't do it. We'll do it live. Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Mister, will you please wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up?
Good morning. Kevin Durant, you should have left California.
This Bronxexual upset me in having to bring this teenage idiot from Wisconsin into a sports conversation. Are you really surprised the Cowboys are giving up on Ezekiel Elliott?
Whoa. Hell no. Well, no one cares about baseball.
Bitch, are you for real?
Welcome to Unfilled. Fabulous. Fantastic. Let me see if I can think of another F word that is FCC approved. Fantastical. Festive. Friday edition of Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson. I know I don't do it as well as my partner. I am Cole Johnson. My partner is off for the day. He will return on Monday. And coming up, of course, this episode on Friday, we will see Sam Shady of the Shady Sports Network at the bottom of hour number 1. Top 5 number 2, we will see the owner, the manipulator, and the operator of the BS3 Network, one Mr. Ben Sutter III. And then joining us at the bottom of hour number 2 is Into the Boom Shakalaka with Chris Bass. And of course, in between Ben and Chris, we will pick the 4 NFC and for NFL, I should say, divisional round games. That is all for later, but for now, to the whip around. And yesterday was a fire / we wish you great in future endeavors type of day. We will start with the fired portion as the Buccaneers threw the pink slip to Byron Leftwich. Now, it was reported early in the week that the Bucs were going to go in this direction after the 31-14 sleepwalk, demolishing, mollywhopping, butt whooping, decimation, destruction. Well, I'll say this. It's best to say it this way. Mr. Leftwich received the same thing in saying that you're no longer a offense coordinator. Now, this is interesting because he now is 2 years removed from having that offense be running at efficient and optimal levels and winning the Super Bowl, and 1 year removed from after almost beating the eventual Super Bowl champions in an epic comeback, 30-27 in the divisional round against the Rams, and 2 months later becoming the Jaguars head coach. Almost. Now he is persona non grata. Now, if you really want to know where all of the blame lies, to me, in the destruction, I should say, in the harsh descent of the Green Bay Packers, Aaron Rodgers, of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, to me, you look at 3 places. That is Bruce Arians for just all of a sudden saying, yeah, I think I need to be a consultant, and leaving the bench. Todd Bowles for not really being ready, and Tom Brady for being 45 and not investing in the team. To me, Byron Leftwich, maybe for the exception of not really focusing on the running game as much, did not deserve to have all of the blame. And yes, the quarterback's coach also got fired too. Interesting how those two got fired. And Mr. Brady is quietly enjoying his off season, probably preparing for wife number 2. Oh, I mean, year number 24 in NFL. Now, in the next segment, I will talk a little further about this as well. But Greg Roman, the offensive coordinator for the Ravens and the Baltimore Ravens, have, oh, good Lord, I can't believe I'm about to say this, quote, parted ways, close quote. Now, he has been the OC for 6 years and basically was the guy that was responsible for the Lamar Jackson MVP season of 2019. But ever since then, the offense has spiraled downward and it's gotten worse and worse and worse. Of course, part of that is due to the last 2 seasons, Lamar Jackson being injured for the last 5 games in each. The other part, to me, I will talk about that in the next segment. But for now, the Indianapolis Colts have formally interviewed Jeff Saturday for the head coaching position. Oh my God. Oh, Lord have mercy.
We are experiencing technical difficulties. Please stand by. The host needs to collect himself for a moment or two. Please stand by. The host simply can't believe how people can be such dolts and idiots. Please stand by. We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming, already in progress.
And that concludes today's Whip Around. To the Fanatic Feedback Zone before we take our first break of the day. That's another word. Victor Locke, freak out. I totally forgot about that one. Yes. He also says the Buccaneers got spanked by them Cowboys. Why is it when I hear Brian do that, it makes it sound like it's an air horn? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Good afternoon to you, since we're doing this live right now. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Sigdiggy. He comes all the way from Norway. Appreciate you. Appreciate you, brother. And he sends a personal good morning to me and as well as Victor. Victor says, so I guess that means the Colts are going to continue this exercise in futility. Yes, that's exactly what it means, Mr. Locke, because the Wonder Bread Choir has a selection for Jim Irsay, not necessarily just the Colts, but Jim Irsay in general. And that selection is, you only have one brain cell.
What? What?
The song was a medley. My bad. 6 says, it's not even time for Chris Bass, and already he's laughing hard. What? Sick. The Colts are interviewing a candidate who just finished their past season 1-7. How is that not laughable? Please, please explain to me how that isn't laughable. Because it's horrible. That is horrible. Victor saying good morning to Sick in his own special way, calling him 00. Uh, Six says, Victor, imagine how ticked off Dr. K is. And see, and that adds to the laughter, because I'm also imagining seeing Jody blow her top at having this inane head coach being considered a full-time head coach, being the next head coach of the team. And before we go to our first commercial break, I will do the following. Cole Sports Chuckle is brought to you by Stupid University in association with Me Phi Me Fraternity. Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. He says it's not Cole. It's not Cole. It's completely hilarious, unless this guy finds a way to turn these around. Well, yeah, true. And Victor says Dr. K is about to kick the doors down in the office. Yeah, I think she is. When we come back, we will discuss further the Ravens situation and what does that mean particularly for one Lamar Jackson. Does it mean that this greases the wheels for him to stay in Baltimore? Or does this mean that the Ravens are cleaning house altogether? You're watching Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson. I am Cole Johnson. I will be right back right after this.
This is Snowman in the Morning.
Here's an important message from the Diabetes Solution Center. Do you like pricking your fingers to test your blood sugar levels? No one does, but it's important to maintain your health. And now, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you don't need to prick your fingers anymore. It's easy to use and helps you make more accurate diabetes treatment decisions. If you are testing your blood sugar 3 or more times daily, injecting insulin, or using an insulin pump, call the Diabetes Solution Center right now. And if you have Medicare or most major insurance coverage, you may be able to get a new CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. Shipping is free, and we'll even bill your insurance company for you. If you are testing your blood sugar 3 or more times daily, injecting insulin, or using an insulin pump, call the Diabetes Solution Center right now to learn how to end the painful finger sticks and get your own continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
That's why we here on this platform.
Marriage, a loving splendor, a daily grind. Such is the case when Damien and Jamie get together and chop it up, for marriage is real.
Let's just lay it all out here. Let's just be real with it.
Join this wonderful couple who keeps it real and always in love. BS3 Network proudly presents Marriage is Real, where love is the only thing that matters. Live every Tuesday at 8:30 Central. Oh, and Jamie has something to say.
Deuces and trays.
SeatGeek is the ticketing app for fans like the High Five Strangers guy. Game-winning interception. First down. Just a nice, solid tackle. If you're in arm's length, you will be swapping skin with this extrovert. You see, he knows SeatGeek got him a great deal on tickets, so he can focus on what he does best, smacking palms. SeatGeek handles the tickets to sports, concerts, and more, so fans can fan.
The original Think Drink is back. Level up with proven ingredients formulated to crush your competition. No gimmicks, no jitters, no messing around. Just high-potency results that keep you moving day or night. There's a new nerd in town, and we came to play. Nerd Focus, smarter than energy.
So I realized that I think, even though it's not advertised,
right,
there has to be a place for stupid people. We don't know because we're not stupid, so we don't know anything about it. It's like a secret club society.
Oh my gosh.
So I come to the conclusion that he graduated from SU, stupid university. Yeah, all the stupid ass letters that go along with graduating high honors of being stupid. I can't do no more, man.
Vámonos, dominos, vamonos. Stupid university, where everyone graduates magna cum stupid.
And thank you for that, Sick. And the voice you heard before mine was the one, the only, the fantastic Chris Bass. You will hear him if you have never seen this show. You will hear him and see him and all of his hijinks when we go enter the Boom Shakalaka later in hour number 2. But we are in hour number 1 now. And later this hour, we will be talking with Sam Shady of the Shady Sports Network. And I believe he will be beside himself and giddy in dealing with tomorrow night's matchup between his beloved Eagles hosting the Giants for the second time this year and playing the team for the third. Back to the Fanatic Feedback Zone we go. Hark TV, he says, good morning, everyone, and good morning to you, man. I hope everything is good with you. It's a wonderful, wonderful day for me. Ryan McCarthy of No Credentials Acquired, he says, good morning, Sir Cole, and to everyone in the chat. Did Me Find Me borrow LeBron's seals? Oh my gosh. 6 says, Victor Love better call Snowman. I get the feeling I'm going to hear about what he thinks about that probably sometime later on in the afternoon when he does the Brian Snow show. I think. Heck, he might actually come later this morning out of nowhere. 6 says, good morning and happy Friday to you, Brian. He asked what's the brew, and he also says good morning to Hawk TV. And so Victor says the same thing to Brian. And I have made Sick cheese grin. I love it. I love it. So now that Greg Roman is out for the Ravens, who is going to be calling the shots offensively for the Ravens? And then after they decide that, who is going to be the person pulling the triggers on the field? Because they still have this itty bitty slight problem, and that slight small problem is the quarterback they have that has won an MVP in his career already. Will he be the guy going forward for the Ravens? Because his rookie deal, I know it's not really called that, but basically it is that, or his first contract expires this offseason. So you might as well say it's expired now, actually. And now Jackson and the Ravens front office has to come to terms with a deal somehow. And here's how it's going to break down. Or here's how it's broken down. Here's how it's broken down thus far. So Jackson was, I think, 2 years ago. Excuse me. I think Jackson 2 years ago signaled that he wanted to have a really good deal in terms of like top 5, but not a franchise tag where it's only good for 1 year. He wanted that type of deal extended itself, for about maybe 5 or 6. And people were, and when I say people, I do mean media people, not necessarily just fans. Media people were saying that, well, he probably is not going to get the deal that he wants because he's representing himself. And so fast forward to the last offseason, and beforehand, he gets injured for 5 games to end the 2021 campaign. And he's seeing deals right and left. He's seeing Russell Wilson's deal in Denver. He's seeing Kyler Murray's deal in the desert. He's seeing Aaron Rodgers' deal in Green Bay. And ultimately, he saw the deal that Deshaun Watson received when he was after he was traded for the trade to be necessitated from Houston to Cleveland. So being that I'm sure Mr. Jackson's looking at these deals and he's saying, and this is not an ego thing, but I think he's saying it as a maybe I've outperformed them standpoint. Okay, so I can't really say I am better than Rodgers. I can say I can compete alongside of him. I can say a little bit that I am better than Russell Wilson. I definitely can say I'm better than Kyler Murray. And even though I can say with hardware I'm better than Deshaun Watson, I actually can unequivocally say I'm better than Deshaun Watson just by default because he hadn't set foot on the field. I mean, before that time, for that 2021 season. So if these guys are getting that type of deal, and if Deshaun's getting a fully guaranteed contract worth $230 million, along with Russell Wilson getting guaranteed 156 million. No, 165 million, I'm sorry. Kyler also getting a 165 million guaranteed contract. And Aaron Rodgers Aaron Rodgers getting 150 million guarantees. But doggone it, I should probably for a starting number get 170 million guaranteed. So I'm thinking he's going into the negotiating room thinking along those lines, right? But you had the Ravens owner, Steve Bisciotti, 2 weeks after the Deshaun Watson deal, and that deal went down, March 18th of last year? March 17th, March 18th of last year? 2 weeks later, you hear Bisciotti say to the media, not to Jackson, not to confidants in the Ravens organization. He says it in front of the media, quote, I just can't justify any player getting that much in fully guaranteed money in reference to Deshaun Watson. It would make contract negotiations extremely difficult. Close quote. So now that is the atmosphere that sort of charged the negotiating that went on probably at different points between the time that Bisciotti said it, and I think he was at the owners' meetings, because I think the owners normally meet between the latter part of March and early April, and basically around Final Four weekend. I think that's where they normally meet. So Bisciotti says this there, and he has to now go into the intervening 5 months to try to come out with a deal that their QB, who has already an MVP in his war chest, can be happy with, and the organization can be happy with. So they go throughout the spring, nothing. They go throughout the early part of summer, nothing. You hear some rumblings at the latter part of summer, as in maybe, maybe not. And then, of course, Lamar says, quote, if we don't get a deal done basically 1 week before the season starts, I'm cutting off all negotiations until the next offseason. Close quote. So then we see this number get leaked out. And I think I'm trying to remember the number that was reported. And I think it was NBC Sports that reported it. I think there was $290 million in total, $133 million in guarantees. And when that was reported before Jackson shut down negotiations, I said the following. I said the Ravens threw Lamar Jackson only $133 million. You know what Lamar Jackson said.
Bitch, are you for real?
Because in my opinion, I believe Lamar Jackson said to them, I'm only accepting a fully guaranteed contract the size of Deshaun Watson, and I actually believe I'm worth more, maybe $250 million. And of course, you know what the Ravens said.
Bitch, are you for real?
So we're here. The contract negotiation stalled. It stopped. No deal was made. And Jackson played the last year of his contract with no new deal in sight. He gets injured again, misses five more games to end this season and the playoff game they just played this past Sunday. And now you have to ask the question, are the Ravens and Lamar Jackson going to continue their marriage even after this rocky road that they have had at least the last year, maybe the last 2 years? And then there was speculation before the season ended, and word came out from their camp, I mean Ravens camp, that Lamar, before the Bengals regular season game in Cincy, so this was about, I think, Thursday, they said that Lamar hadn't even been on the site of the Ravens campus, hasn't been anywhere near the organization for then the last 2 weeks and a half. Fast forward to the next Thursday, then word comes out that he wasn't going to travel with the team to Cincinnati to watch them in their Sunday night playoff game. All of this gumbo is being cooked, and the dish doesn't taste wonderful if you're a Raven fan. I just don't get how this is going to end well, because what I do see happening is the Ravens basically saying, take this franchise tag and shove it. Because I don't think that they feel as though they're ready to come off of that type of money for Lamar Jackson. And I do not believe that Bisciotti wants to come off of his stance of, I'm not going to pay you $230 million guaranteed. Are you crazy? I can't see that. Now, I can see his hand being forced maybe, but I don't see the possibility of him volunteering it. So what does it matter to him? Does it matter to have Jackson there, or does it matter to pinch the pennies and save the budget? And them, to me, erroneously thinking that life without Lamar Jackson can start right now. To the Fanatic Feedback Zone we go. And Heart TV says, who lives in that area, basically. He says, to all the Greg Roman doubters, his track record is impeccable. Yeah, his track record is impeccable. The problem I have with him, though, is that he knows how to operate in offenses. It delays development of quarterbacks. That's the only problem I have with a Greg Roman run offense. And yes, to your point, he has taken Lamar Jackson to the MVP. He has taken, and he was the 49ers offense coordinator. He has taken the 49ers and offensive coordinator to the Super Bowl with Colin Kaepernick. So yes, true. Yeah. It's not that I doubt his ability. I just doubt the way he develops quarterbacks, because I believe the way his offense runs, it stunts him. Six says, Ryan, the SEALs are on strike. They're demanding guaranteed maternity leave, a bump in pay, and a few other things. Did you know they have a union? Paid maternity at that. Well, I hope DeMaurice Smith is not the executive director of that union. Ryan says, Greg Roman is a run-heavy version of Chan Gailey. I love that comparison. Yeah, his offense looks great in the first year, but their opponents figure it out, and quickly it becomes predictable. And not only that, it becomes predictable, and the offenses become stale and stagnant. And it's like, okay, so it's all about run misdirection. So if you can pin the right way the ball is going to go, basically I call Greg Roman a run version of 3-card money. That's really the best way I could put it. It's like follow the ball. If you can pin them down to, okay, well, we can't really do anything in doing 3-card money. We just got to drop back and pass. That's where their offense falters. Hot TV says Roman's offense has positive results in regular seasons, playoffs, and Super Bowl. True. It's just, as Ryan said, it's perfect. Teams figure out that offense, and all of a sudden you get the law of diminishing returns. Also, receivers get opportunities in that offense. Look at Bateman, who got a big catch, who had big catch and runs. True. Yeah. But the opportunities can get limited. And I can name a few games this year where that happens. The game at home against the Dolphins, the game at home against the Bills, the game on the road against the Giants. All three of those games I mentioned, the Ravens had double-digit leads. Where was that explosive passing attack? Where was that running game too? Because they lost all three. He says, respectfully, I disagree, Ryan. The Ravens had the Bengals against the ropes. That's because the Ravens defense put a Herculean effort to neutralize Burrow and Hawk, which I agree. Six says, what's good? Stuck in my mind. I'll get to him in a sec. Morning, y'all, says A Pizzle. Morning to you, A Pizzle. Good morning, wise man. And speaking of wise man, he says, my apologies. I had to drop off the wife's car. It has a recall. Well, I hope your wife is safe, for one. Two, I hope you are too. And good morning to you, my friend. Otherwise, he would be joining me in this effort. Now, on the other side of this break, we will have Sam Shady of the Shady Sports Network. We'll talk about the playoffs a little bit, but we'll definitely focus on the Giants, Eagles. And coming up, hour number 2, we'll have our fun with Ben Southern III, the man who's in charge of BS3 Network. But it's time to pay those bills. This is Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson. I am Cole. We'll be back.
This is Snowman in the Morning.
The original Think Drink is back. Level up with proven ingredients formulated to crush your competition. No gimmicks, no jitters, no messing around. Just high-potency results that keep you moving day or night. There's a new nerd in town, and we came to play. Nerd Focus. Smarter than energy.
SeatGeek is the ticketing app for fans like the High Five Strangers guy. Game-winning interception. First down. Just a nice, solid tackle. If you're in arm's length, you will be swapping skin with this extrovert. You see, he knows SeatGeek got him a great deal on tickets, so he can focus on what he does best, smacking palms. SeatGeek handles the tickets to sports, concerts, and more, so fans can fan.
This is a BS3 Network presentation. Politics.
They'll write the law, but they'll enforce it differently. Is that going to apply both ways?
Religion.
God never said that we can't reason together. Matter of fact, he said, let us sit and reason together.
Relationship.
I believe that everybody wants and needs somebody.
From a man's perspective.
They say, girls, if I put some polish on that and get him to buy some different clothes, girl, he could be a winner chicken dinner.
Join the thought engineer.
There's nothing wrong with me developing my piece and you developing your piece, but understand the goal is to come together.
And comedian John Yogi.
Negro, I don't need you putting on no chapstick up there in the pulpit. You do that over there in your chair.
Get ready for
Let's Talk Monday.
Live every Monday at 7 p.m. Central.
So this thing called sports, it has fans again. It has full stadiums, full arenas, and more. And you want to be a part of it, don't you? Of course you do. If you begin to scour the resale market, there will be tickets available. And what you need to get those tickets that you want so badly is SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the app available to you that lends a hand in helping you get the tickets that you want for the events that you want. SeatGeek rates the tickets on a 1 to 10 scale, and the best part is the tickets are vetted for authenticity, so you know what you are getting and you know you are not getting scammed. And now you can save even more by using the code Snowman and getting $20 off with your very first purchase. Yes, you can do all of that with the power of SeatGeek, helping you get to the games that you want, so you fans can fan. So let's all fan.
'Cause we take this job so serious.
The f*** is that?
Sorry, pardon me. My apologies.
What in the all types of blue hell?
This It's Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson.
That'll forever not be funny. Welcome back to Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson. I am Cole. And a programming note, Ben Sutherland III, who normally joins us at the beginning of hour number 2, will not. He actually has some personal things to take care of. Everything is fine with him, and everything is fine with the fam. He just has to go off and do something personal, tend to a personal need. Now, joining us in a few seconds or a few minutes will be Sam Shady. So, but what we'll do in hour number 2, we'll go straight into the 4 picks as to who at least one of us thinks is going to advance to the championship round on January 29th. And we will do that as soon as hour number 2 begins. Now, before Sam gets here, I guess I'll spitball and come up with something that I would like to talk about that has been itching at me and gnawing at me. Other than Jeff Saturday actually still being interviewed after that horrendous 1-7 end to last season. I mean, there's some other directions I would love to take this, but I won't. But let me see. Where do I want to go? Where do I want to go? I'll go here before we have Sam on to the NBA. And there was a team that started the season 16-7, and everything seemed to be rosy and fine. But all of a sudden, they found themselves basically locked Tom Petty. They were free falling. And they just fell all the way down, and now they are in 12th place instead of first in the NBA's Western Conference, and that team is the Phoenix Suns. And I go on and on as to what is wrong with that team, but I will cut that short as our guest has arrived, as he does every Friday morning at 8:35 Eastern, 7:35 Central, 5:35 when you're waking up in San Francisco or LA or Seattle or Portland or I don't know, Bakersfield or Fresno or Sacramento or or Las Vegas. It is the man who is in charge of the Shady Sports Network. Welcome, Mr. Sam Shady. Good morning, sir.
Good morning,
How are
Cole.
you?
Pretty good. How about you?
Doing good. All right, so I know that. Let me see. I'll get the business part out the way. So the XFL, they're due to kick off next month. Tell me when is the season supposed to start? I think it's in February, but I forgot when in February.
Yes, sir. It is February. It's February 18th. 1 p.m. is the first game, Vegas versus Arlington in Arlington. And then I believe the second game is at 7 p.m. that night. And then there's also 2 games on Sunday, the 19th. So they're starting on a Saturday, which I thought was kind of cool because then we get a full weekend of football. And even though it's only 4 games.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. And I was hoping that they would allow the NFL season to breathe and then, let the Super Bowl happen and then they start afterwards. That's exactly what I thought they were going to do. Good. They're starting the very next weekend. Okay. What are your expectations as to how the XFL 3.0, I guess you could say now, is going to unfold?
Actually, that's exactly what everybody's calling it, the XFL 3.0. So good call there. Personally, this is going to shock some people, but I personally think it's going to be very comparable. And I mean, like, really, really comparable in terms of level of play. A lot of these guys that are in this league are players that just simply wanted to stay home instead of going to Canada and getting the higher potential overall salary. They are just taking the higher base salary because the lower players in the CFL are making less than what the XFL is averaging, if that makes sense.
Oh wow. Huh. Yeah, it does make sense. It does make plenty of sense. Now, when the XFL actually was playing the last time, we saw the standout PJ Walker just explode onto the scene and onto the screen, literally. And he, of course, ended up becoming a Panthers backup quarterback. Uh, if there are any names that we should look out for in this coming season, which ones would they be in your mind?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. This is a great question because this is exactly why the casual fan should be watching this game, right? You know,
Mhm.
you want to see who's potentially the next, not necessarily star, but the next player in the NFL that you know are going to see on these rosters. And one of the quarterbacks that I personally am a huge fan of, you probably heard me talk about him a lot during USFL season. His name's Brian Scott. He was the quarterback for the Philadelphia Stars. He got hurt in week 3, very early on in week 3, but before his injury, he had 581 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, over 70% completion rate. Prior to the USFL, he played in the Spring League, which was basically like a league that was outdoor for players that really wanted to get to the NFL level. They would go to this league and pay money to play in this league. And
Hmm.
so it had like the best of the best players that believed they belong in the NFL. And he was one of them. And when he was in the TSL, he won the MVP both seasons and he went undefeated. So, I mean, this is a guy we're talking about that has competed at a very high level for several seasons now. And now he's on a roster where he's going to be throwing passes to Martavis Bryant. And on the opposite side of the field is Vic Beasley, who's going to be harassing quarterbacks. So, I mean, there's a lot of big name players to watch for, but one of the underrated players is Brian Scott.
Wow, you threw a couple of names I've heard in a minute. Sam Shady joining us here on Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson. Okay. So the XFL begins in February. The USFL begins in April. How has the build-up to season number 2 for them looked? How is this off season, I should say, for the USFL looked? Has it been what they would like? Has there been hiccups? What say you?
I think there's been a lot of good things that have come from this off season for the USFL. You know, but I think a lot of us were shocked by the fact that so many players tried to jump to the XFL or were selected in the
Yeah.
XFL drafts. I think it was per NFL Quarterback Talk on Twitter. It's at NFL Quarterback Talk. Um, he I think he got a number of 60 players. 60 USFL players were drafted by the XFL in one of their various drafts that they had. And I believe an overall count we had was 49 have opted to go to the XFL, and that was a lot more than any of us saw. So or expected. So that's a downside of what's come this off season. But on the flip side of things, the USFL has been able to acquire some rather big names to reload on talent. And I mean, if you're an NFL fan, some of these names are going to be ringing a bell to you. Perhaps James Morgan, Davis Cheek, both recent practice squad additions for the Arizona Cardinals and the Carolina Panthers. They were signed as quarterbacks for the New Orleans Breakers and the Pittsburgh Maulers, respectively. And then you also have former first round pick Robert Ndici from the Arizona Cardinals, formerly. Former second round pick Breeland Speaks from the Kansas City Chiefs. And then also former Seattle Seahawks and Baltimore Ravens running back Alex Collins also signed.
Okay. Wow. All right. Um. So, do you think? I'm just spitballing here in terms of just thinking of logistics. Do you think that many players jumped from the USFL to the XFL because the XFL starts early and they have a little more time to be on an NFL team's radar since XFL season ends in April and the USFL season ends basically Independence Day around that time period. which of course only gives you 2, maybe 3 weeks before you have to report to training camp in NFL.
You hit the nail on the head, sir, because at this point, that's the main argument that's being made by a lot of these XFL players. You know, obviously, as you guys know, if you've seen my channel, a lot of these guys other leagues, I asked them, okay, what was your motivation? And a lot of them pointed to that fact exactly. Well, this increases my chances to be on an NFL roster because I'm done with my season and I have time to recover
Right.
and be 100% healthy for training camp by the time NFL is ready for me. And that's a huge advantage. It's not something that you can overstate when you're talking about the XFL versus the USFL. But at the same time, I've also heard the argument for players that they're in game shape coming out of the USFL. And now we saw that resulted in some injuries, mainly to like skill position players. But I personally, and again, this is just me, this isn't coming from a league, any player, anything like this. If I'm a kicker, a punter, a long snapper, a quarterback, these positions where you're probably not going to be getting a hit a whole lot, and you have the ability to make it through a season probably pretty healthy, the USFL makes more sense for you. If you're a skill position player like an offensive lineman, a defensive lineman, linebacker, where you're going to be getting hit a lot, you probably want to go to the XFL.
Yeah, because I agree. Rest, especially if if you're on the trenches, it is absolutely necessary. Yeah, if you have any questions in the chat, please direct them to the chat and direct them to Sam, because we have something from Ryan. He says, "I would love to pick your Shady's brain about Nathan Rourke signing with the Jaguars."
Thank you for asking, Ryan, because I personally think this is an amazing move. So a lot of people had the misconception that Nathan Rourke was so good in the CFL that he was going to come into the NFL and immediately be on a team that might view him as a starter, and that simply was never true. As much as I hate to say it, the CFL is still a low enough rung on the football world that at the top tier quarterbacks are still at best a second string quarterback in the NFL. But with that being said, that's exactly where Nathan Rourke has found himself positioned to be in the NFL. And that's a great place to be coming out of the CFL when last season, don't quote me on this, but I believe he was one of the lesser paid players in the CFL prior to the season. So for him to go from making $40, $50, $60,000 for a full season in the CFL, he's going to the potential of making $400,000 in a season with the NFL as a backup quarterback. So that's a win to me for him. But on the flip side of things, if you're looking for a team that he could potentially get an ability or a chance to start long term, I don't think the Jacksonville Jaguars are that far out of the realm of possibility. We just watched Trevor Lawrence throw 4 interceptions in the first half of a playoff game. That's not going to fly long term. So if he can't improve on that performance, maybe we see Nathan Rourke. We already know Doug Peterson has a background of turning to a backup quarterback. He has no problem starting a backup that knows his system. He was that guy at one point. So personally, I think Nathan Rourke positioned himself very, very well. And I think the people out there that are saying that this is a bad move on his part just don't simply look at the bigger picture, that this is life-changing money. It really is. Like, I don't know about you, but I could use $500,000 in my bank account this year.
Oh yeah, and a wonderful point pointing out that Doug Peterson, and I think a lot of people don't know, he was a career backup quarterback, and he backed up Brett Favre for many years in Green Bay. I think he actually backed up somebody in the Eagles too, I believe. And then mentioning, of course, the 2018 run to 2017 run to Super Bowl, where you had Carson Wentz, who got injured. He put Nick Foles in there. And Nick Foles carried them to a Super Bowl championship. And then when Wentz the very next year was not doing all that well, he pulled the trigger, put Nick Foles in there, and Nick Foles got them to the playoffs. So yes, you're right. Peterson has a quick trigger finger, and he wants to make sure the offense runs on time. And he believes in the backup quarterback because he was one. So that's a very good point. Very good point.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. All right, so the business is now out the way. Let's have some fun. Now, for those who don't know, this gentleman here is an ardent, and I do mean ardent with a capital ARDENT, Eagles fan. And the number one seed in the NFC gets to play a huge game tomorrow night, and it's against the rival Giants in South Philly. Kickoff is at 8:15, and I'll let you keep the analysts at home. So if the Giants were to pull off the upset in South Philly, what are the things they need to do in order to pull it off?
Oh, I think that's very, very obvious what you need to do. You need to contain Jalen Hurts in our run game. If you force Jalen Hurts to carve you up all day, he can. But at the same time, when you leave our offense one-dimensional, it definitely limits him in what he's able to do. And I don't know that he's 100% healthy yet. I mean, I know it's been a couple weeks. That bye week was crucial, but that would probably be my main way of trying to slow him down. I mean, I don't know if that's leaving a quarterback spy on him, whether it's a safety or a cornerback or somebody who can actually keep up with him, or simply just containing from the defensive ends. And there's a lot of different ways you can go about that, but it'll be interesting to see how they try to approach it, because I don't know that the Giants necessarily have the secondary to stop the Eagles wide receivers. So if you try to single up on them and add more in the box to try and stop Hurts in the run game, you're opening yourself up for some holes as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how they try to approach that situation. Ultimately, I think offensively, you have to ride Saquon Barkley like there's no tomorrow, because if you lose, there is no tomorrow. So you might as well give him the ball every single play if you can, whether it's a screen pass or a run play, whatever it takes. Saquon Barkley is your bread and butter. He should. If you're going to win, I expect Saquon Barkley to be 150 yards plus on the day. So, I mean, that would be my formula to success. Contain Jalen Hurts, force him to beat you from the pocket, run the ball and keep the ball out of his hands as much as possible, and try and play sound, mistake-free football, because if you make a mistake, the Eagles will take advantage of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've said this often all throughout the season, and I think Wise, who is a huge Giants fan, he's heard me say it. I said, man, that offense, whenever it needs to operate, it's Saquon, and more Saquon. So yes, I agree with you there about that, and defensively, I agree with you too. I think the Giants have to take their chances to stop, to contain Hurts to run, and force him to be in the pocket and pass. Now, one example where a team tried to do that would be the Titans, but Hurts threw for 380 yards and I think 4 touchdowns against them. So it could be a dangerous way to go, but I think that might be how they have to go. Now, your beloved Eagles, they stumbled down the stretch. They didn't look their best, even in their home game against the Giants to end the season. What team do you think you're going to see Saturday night? You think you're going to see the team that struggled down the stretch, starting with the Christmas Eve game in Arlington? Or do you think you're going to see the team that basically just reeled off a whole ton of yards offensively and stopped anything any opposing offense did the month prior?
So this is a tough question to answer. I personally have been fairly discouraged over the last 3 weeks of the regular season based on the way the Eagles have played. Even in Week 18 when Jalen Hurts came back. So personally, I think if you're the Eagles, you need to get him in a rhythm quick. And no matter how the Giants play him, you need to find a way to get him involved in the run game. And
Yes.
I know I've been on the other side of that all season long, telling the team not to run him as much. But again, it's the playoffs. There is no tomorrow if you lose, so you might as well give it everything you got. And Jalen Hurts is simply too dynamic to try and keep in the pocket all game long, offensively, scheme wise. And then on the defensive side of the ball, we really, really have to try and contain Saquon Barkley, because that's going to be their number one threat to defeating us this weekend. I mean, Barkley is unbelievable. I've been a fan of him since the second he was drafted. I really wish he could have ended up on the Eagles somehow, but he's one of the better backs in the league overall, talent wise, whether it's in the pass game or the run game. So to me, the Giants are a scary team because they're playing with house money. They're not supposed to be here. So worst case scenario, they're going to play their hearts out and leave everything on the field, because if they lose, everybody expected them to lose anyway.
Yeah. That's a really good way of putting it. And you mentioned, and I am on the same train with you. And I really don't want the Eagles to force the running game with Hurts so hard and have him run so much. But then we saw last week when the Giants played the Vikings, that pretty much was what they decided to do against them. And Daniel Jones runs the ball 17 times in the game. But I get what you're saying, and I agree with you. I think if you can just get him loose and comfortable and have him not think, okay, I must protect my shoulder, and have him just think, okay, well, let me just run the flow. Let's just run in the flow of the offense. Then he'll settle down and you can do whatever you want with him. So I agree with you on that point for sure.
Exactly.
All right. So I'll ask this question double pronged. So as an analyst, who do you think is going to win? And as a fan, who you think is going to win?
Well, in this particular case, it sounds like me as a fan and me as an analyst are agreeing. I personally think the Eagles' offense is it's too much for a lot of teams. And I think really, even if we were to get behind, we got the firepower to catch back up and ultimately take the lead. And I personally think Daniel Jones had an amazing performance last week. And it was, again, another scary performance if you're an Eagles fan, because that is one of the things that I'm concerned about our defense with, is running quarterbacks. So, it could be ultimately a close game this weekend. I do expect the Eagles to ultimately take the victory, but I expect a very, very tough fight from the Giants. I expect them to have pressure on Hurts all game long. We know Wise is a huge fan of Thibodeau, and man, I'm blank. Ojulari, I think it is, that's on the other side. So, they've got an impressive pass rush, and that would be my number one fear. If they can stay in Hurts's face all day long and force a couple turnovers, this could easily turn into a Giants win. I have no illusions that this is an easy game for the Eagles. I personally, I rather would have seen the Vikings. I 100% think the Vikings are an easier team to beat, personally.
And I think personally, I think they match up better with the Vikings. So yeah, I totally am on board with you there too. So this is Sam Shady of the Shady Sports Network. Well, tell the people where they can find you and where they can hear all of this knowledge that you just spat of all things football.
Well, you can always find us on the YouTube channel, Shady Sports Network, and also at ShadySportsNetwork.com. We've got a bunch of people that are working with us now. We're launching CIF, Champions Indoor Football, team dedicated shows. So if you're a fan of indoor football and you have not checked out the CIF, come over to our channel, check it out, see what you think. We got players on for interviews every week. And then also, with XFL and USFL season coming, we will be doing weekly preview series. Probably during the XFL USFL overlap, we'll have them together, and then we'll just carry on throughout the USFL season as just USFL. And then one thing before I get out of here real quick, I know there's probably not a whole lot of LFA fans, which for anybody who's not aware is the Liga Football America, which is the football or the Mexican Football League. They've recently started signing some NFL names as well. So if you're a fan of the Seattle Seahawks, Trevon Boykin might ring some bells. A quarterback that was the backup behind Russell Wilson for several years prior to a prison stint. But he is out. He's completely free and clear of any legal issues anymore. It's been a couple years. He's now the quarterback down with the Galgos in LFA. And then also one of his wide receivers, former Dallas Cowboy Terrence Williams. So just kind of interesting to see all these former NFL names popping up all over the place.
Yeah. Wow. Well, as you have heard in these last few minutes, whether it's USFL, XFL, LFA, arena football, NFL, CFL, does not matter. Any professional football related, and I'm saying this as my name is Cole Johnson, Sam Shady is your man. He knows it all. Sam Shady, the Shady Sports Network, he joins us every single Friday at the hour of number 1 of this show. It is always a pleasure to have you. Thank you again for a wonderful, wonderful time.
Absolutely, Cole. It's always a pleasure, and thank you again.
I appreciate it. And have a wonderful weekend, sir.
You too.
That's, again, Sam Shady, the Shady Sports Network. As I said, he always joins us every Friday at hour number 1. But it's not hour number 1 anymore, is it? No, it's hour number 2, and it begins right now.
Time for hour 2 of this spectacular. Ryan McCoffey now joins us this morning.
That's what you need to do to beat Josh Allen. You need to make him uncomfortable.
Hour 2, time for some Spivey notes. And here's Jay.
Well, I know he's only in his 3rd year, but they're just wasting Justin Herbert.
Hour 2,
the hardest working content creator I know, the playmaker.
Hey, LeBron James, the greatest scorer of all time. Hey.
Hour 2,
the one, the only Christopher Dietz.
They rewarded Ohio State for not playing, and they punished USC for playing.
Hour 2, Sam Shady.
Oh, man. It's been a roller coaster ride if you were a Philadelphia Stars fan.
Hour 2, that's Big Ben, the man in charge of the BS3 network.
And if I see Kurt 2 Chainz Cousins out.
Hour 2, Chris Bay's joining us.
Oh my God! Oh, this game! Oh, way to go, Sammy!
Hour 2, was
Oh man, I thought I missed it.
What in the all types of blue hell?
Time for hour 2 of this spectacular, and it starts right now.
Good morning. Well, that doesn't come from me. That actually comes from the Snowman himself, as he is on his way back from Indianapolis. So he had to attend to a doctor's appointment. It's good to see you, brother. I hope everything is good with you. Of course, we'll catch up later. Six says this. Another ad. This segment with Shady Sports Network is brought to you by Burn Leg Orthopedics. No tripping and darn sure no slipping. In association with Grimy Chapstick. No more chip chip and chap chap. Oh, now we're linking them. Okay. Oh, Lord have mercy. Victor says, so has Dr. K kicked down the doors to the Colts front office yet? And my man says, not yet. Shady says, that commercial is so amazing. Well, heck, you're a part of it, man. You're part of it, Sam. And I thank you. I appreciate that. And we will get to, of course, all of this talk of what's to come Saturday and Sunday. Already one Mr. Wise El Jefe, who is a huge Giants fan, says, put some respect on my QB's name. That QB is Daniel Jones. And the way he played last Sunday, or this past Sunday, I should say, 300 yards passing and 78, I think, yards rushing. And it's hard not to put respect on your QB's name. All right, so since Ben won't be joining us this morning, we're going to go right straight to the picks. Now, in the chat, feel free to let us know who you believe is going to win the games that we're going to focus on. And we're going to have a little fun with this. So the first game on tap will be the Jaguars going to Arrowhead and facing off against the Chiefs. Now, in the last segment, you heard Sam talk about how Trevor Lawrence threw for 4 picks in the first half. He did finish that game throwing for 4 touchdowns, 3 of them in the second half. So he did rebound quite nicely. But you wouldn't want to have him have that same type of effort, though, in this game this Saturday. Kickoff is at 4:30 p.m., 3:30 Eastern, 3:30 p.m. if you're in KC. Now, along with that, you had Travis Etienne carry the ball over 20 times and get over 100 yards. To me, that is the focus. I think you need to have him factor into the running game and balance out Lawrence, to not have him think that he has to drop back and pass 66 times. Yes, I'm looking at you, Tom Brady of the Bucks. I think if we were to have that type of effort where it's a balance on offense still, I think that's where you will have a little bit of trouble for the Chiefs if Lawrence is steady and Etienne figures into things. Now, the line is the Chiefs are favored by 9. And the over-under is 52.5. So I think the people are expecting the Chiefs to actually have an easy time of it and win by 2 scores. Now, further it. The Jaguars, what else they need to do? They simply need to have Patrick Mahomes strictly be in the pocket. He is dangerous when he gets to the Brett Favre style of his game, where he scrambles and puts himself in different angles to where he's buying time for his receivers to get open downfield. You corral him. You do 2 things. You stop him from scrambling, and you stop him from thinking that he has all that he can survey wherever, if he's in the pocket or if he's scrambling to his left or if he's scrambling to his right. So, yeah, if you make him, it's strange you say that, you make him a pocket passer, which he's a really good pocket passer, your chances of victory is better. I'm not going to say the chances of victory are certain, but your chances of victory are better, because if he gets a chance to scramble, gets a chance to basically flush himself out the pocket, well, then you just never know what's going to happen. and sometimes I think they actually do that on purpose. Pass rush is necessary. You need to hammer Mahomes often. If you could do that, you're good. If you don't, he will pick you apart. As we have seen even in playoff games, that is what he can do. So the defense against the Chargers last Saturday night, the Jaguars was okay. They were, of course, had their backs against the wall for the first half, but the second half they settled down. They only allowed a field goal. So I think they need to take that effort that they had in the second half against the Chargers Saturday, and tomorrow have that effort continue itself against the Chiefs. So yeah, I think they need to, in the secondary, I think they need to make sure that they can limit off-time plays. They need to limit plays where you make the Chiefs traditional in execution on offense. And the more traditional you make them execute on offense, the better the chances for the Jaguars to win. You flip the coin, and what the Chiefs need to do, that spirit of fun that we saw in the last regular season game in Las Vegas, the Chiefs need to carry that, because they do not need to be tight. The one thing that I noticed in the AFC Championship game last January when they played at home against the Bengals was that the crew was tight. Even when the game was going their way in the first half, they were tight, and they played tight. They executed tight. And even with a team that's as talented as the Chiefs, when a team executes tight, you're thinking we're playing not to lose instead of playing to win. So they need to have that esprit de corps, that fun, that freewheeling attitude about them. You know, basically what in the last segment Sam Shady alluded to with the Giants, them playing with house money. The Jaguars should play like they're playing with house money. The Chiefs, I think, they need to play as if they are playing with house money, because when they are loose, they are very difficult to stop, especially on offense. On defense, we need to hear Chris Jones' name often, and we need to hear Frank Clark's name often. We need to hear those two in particular. And normally that would mean they stop the run and they put pressure on Trevor Lawrence. If we can hear those two names often, the Chiefs should easily cruise to victory. If they are corralled, the secondary is going to have a lot of trouble stopping what Trevor Lawrence can issue, because they do have pretty good receivers. The two Jones boys, as I call them, and Kirk being one. So what do I think in this game? This should be, to me, a pretty good game for the first three quarters, but I believe the Chiefs in the fourth will run away with it. I think the line is right. I think it's going to be between either an 8-point differential or a 10 or 11-point differential. I think that's why I see, but I definitely see the Chiefs advancing. It's not going to be easy for them at all. At all. At all. Victor says, I can't bet against the Chiefs. I can't either. And I'm not going to. I'm not going to at all. Oh my gosh. Going into Saturday night, the Eagles hosting the Giants. This is the third time they match up this year. This is, I think, the fifth time in the history of their rivalry they have matched up in the playoffs. Right now, it is split evenly. The Eagles have won twice, and the Giants have won twice. The line is the Eagles by 7.5, and the over-under is 48. So they're expecting actually some points to be scored here. Okay, Wise. Here's what I believe needs to happen for the Giants. You know the game that Daniel Jones played in the Twin Cities? He needs to duplicate that. And if he can, I love the Giants' chances. I don't necessarily think he needs to run the ball 17 times. If he could run it between 8 and 11, I think that would be good enough, because that would mean that I think Saquon would run it a little more. Because I think the saving grace of having the game that they played in Minneapolis was that Barkley, although he scored 2 touchdowns, he wasn't the overarching big game factor that he needed to be in that game. And not necessarily the pressure was off him, but there was someone to complement him in his efforts, and it made what he did even more potent. I think in this game, though, you need to see Barkley a little more active in this game. Like, I think you need to see him carry the ball between 20 and 25 times and actually catch out the backfield between 3 and 6. So I really believe we need to see more Barkley in this one. And like I said in the last segment, Saquon, and more Saquon. I think that's what you need. And I think if you have Saquon cook and you have Jones not turn the ball over, then the Eagles are going to be sweating buckets, because that means the wide receivers are not having bricks for hands. It means the tight end is actually active. And it means the offensive line is protecting Jones well. You flip it on defense, Dexter Lawrence needs to be a beast. He needs to shut that running game down. There's no question about that. He needs to eat space and basically force all, no matter who runs the ball. It could be Boston Scott. It could be Miles Sanders. It could be Jalen Hurts. I don't care who's running the ball. It could be in reverses with AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. I don't care who it is, who's running the ball. Force them to run outside. Don't have them attack up the middle, because if they attack up the middle, all bets are off. The Giants are going to get blown out the building. Force them outside so you can have many of your Giants rally to the point of attack and tackle. If you could do that and you have Dexter Lawrence eat up space in the middle of the field, then we could see Thibodeau and I think OC. You can see those two get after QB, get after Hurts, corral him, basically force a pocket. Not saying that Hurts can't beat you in the pocket. He can. But I think the Eagles would much rather not have him be in the pocket and then corral him, rally to him, and may the two shall meet, and a sack will be had. And the secondary has to do basically what they did in the matchup against the Vikings, and that is basically play almost like it's a Tampa 2, but basically disallow anything deep, rally at the point, and then corral and tackle. And if they can do that, I think the success for the Giants goes up. On the flip side, for the Eagles, I 100% agree with Sam. Hurts needs to run early. They need to get him running early. They need to get him thinking in the mode of how he was in November and early December, especially the game they played in the Meadowlands, where Hurts was out there and it didn't matter what he had to do. He could run it. He could throw it. Heck, he could just yawn and just look at the Giants defense and they'd score 7 points. Get Hurts comfortable early. That's the two biggest takeaways in this game for the Giants. Daniel Jones, don't cough up the ball and don't throw an interception. For the Eagles, Hurts runs wild early. And I do literally mean runs. You get him early running and he gets success running. You get the Giants defense on the heels. And in essence, you get the Giants offense also on the heels too. And if Hurts with a couple of those runs actually throws a touchdown or two early, then you get into the Giants' heads. You're thinking, well, doggone it, we can't stop them running. We can't stop them throwing. Oh, Lord, it's like the game we played last month in the Meadowlands. And then you get the Giants on their heels, and then the avalanche starts. You get Hurts running early successfully, then everything else should balance off of that because Devontae Smith on one end, A.J. Brown the other end. That's going to be very difficult for the Giants secondary to contain, let alone stop. Flip side of that, the defensive line. We could talk about the secondary, and the secondary has licked their wounds, they're healed. The secondary, to me, has had to be the strong suit of the defense because they could not stop the run until the influx of defensive tackles. And then all of a sudden, when Hurts went down and Minshew got in, the communication of the secondary of the Eagles went awry. So they have to assure that. To me, talent-wise, when things were going good, the strength of that defense was a secondary. Now, in this game, the defensive front must stop the run. Period. Defensive front must stop the run. Make the Giants one-dimensional on offense. I don't have to say anything else. Make the Giants offense one-dimensional. Make them have to throw the ball on first, second, and third down. That is what must happen. And if they can't stop the run, then, like I said, for the opposite, you will have the Eagles on their heels. But if they can stop the run of the Giants, and that now means you have to stop Jones too, then you force it to be one-dimensional, and you can make that offense grind to a halt. Who would I see going in this game? I do see the Eagles winning it. And actually, I see it being closer than 7 points. I actually see it being more like 4 or 5, but it's going to be a tussle. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be like the 48-22 game that they had in the Meadowlands. I don't care what you say. That's going to be a tough tilt. Victor says, I can't wait to see the Giants and the Eagles. Total slobberknocker. Those two teams are going to smack each other silly. It's not going to be, it cannot be debated nor denied. Those are the Saturday games. The Sunday games, and we'll start with that one. We'll start with this one. The Bills hosting the Bengals. Kickoff is at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central. If you're waking up at in the Bay Area, it'll be noon kickoff, but it'll be 3 p.m. Out in Orchard Park. The spread is 5.5 in favor of the Bills, 49 over and under, which I'm actually surprised at it over under, really. And here's why I'm surprised at it. The over under for the Jaguars Chiefs is more. I would have thought that there would be a bigger over under here. And for me, I would actually take the over. And I say that because the Bengals defense looked pretty good, but they had their moments where they didn't. The Bills defense looks out of sorts. And I understand that a lot of it was in large part due to Josh Allen's turnover prone tendencies in that game. But Skylar Thompson, the quarterback of the third string quarterback of the Dolphins, actually at times looked comfortable in executing in the pocket. And to me, you're going up against a guy who I think is the best pocket passer in the game right now, in Joe Burrow. I you could say Tom Brady, you could say Aaron Rodgers. No, to me right now is Joe Burrow. To me, he is the best pocket passer in the game today. He literally can just simply survey a field and shred you with any one of up to 5 weapons at any given time on any given play. And he's double tough too. You hit him, he will rise back up and he will execute on the next play. The dude is nails. So for me, the Bengals, key to victory, keep Joe Burrow upright. Underline exclamation point. Keep Joe Burrow upright. You keep Burrow upright, he will get the ball into the playmaker's hands, and he has a whole bevy of them. T. Higgins, Terrence Boyd, and I'm blanking on the tight end. Joe Mixon in the backfield, Steve P. Ryan in the backfield, and of course his number one weapon, going all the way back to LSU, Jamar Chase. I mean, and they cover all aspects of the passing game. You need the slot being burst, tight end. You need curls. Higgins normally is your guy. You need slants. Normally that it could be Boyd. Sometimes it could be Higgins. Sometimes it could be Chase. You need the top taken off of a defense, Chase all the way. And you can somewhat do it Boyd. You can somewhat do it Higgins too. But you have that, and you have the running game. Another thing, the Bengals cannot forget to run with P. Ryan and Mixon. They must run the ball to balance out what Burrow can do. Defensively, continue to play like it's 11 men but one, as they have been in the second half of the season. The reason why the Bengals came this close to having the number 2 seed was because that defense was executing in a fashion where that they are somewhat like the 72 Dolphins, no-name defense. You don't know names, but you know effort. And all 11 give effort on the field, and they make things difficult to continuously execute against them. If they could continue to do that, I love the Bengals' chances of taking a victory out of Highland Stadium, but I call it Rich Stadium because that's what it always will be for me, because the stadium was erected when I was born, 1973. On the Bills side, I will end with Josh Allen. The Bills must not revert back to how they were last year when they were in this round playing against the Chiefs, and that is the secondary was the strength, and it made things difficult for QB to just simply straight up execute, to just drop back 3 or 5 or 7, and then just throw as soon as the third, the fifth, or the seventh foot is planted. That was fine, but the issue was the defensive front could not get to the quarterback, which meant that time was bought. Do not give Joe Burrow any time to comb the field at all. You need to be in the backfield and second. One of the biggest pluses going for them is that the Bengals offensive line has resorted back to being patchwork, resorted back to allowing some holes. They've shown that they are better. They're better this year than they were last year. But there's times where you can get to Burrow. The Bills front four must get to Burrow often. In order for them to have any chance of victory, Burrow must be on the turf, I would say at least a third of the time. Not saying he had to be sacked half the time, third of the time, but he needs to be on the turf a third of the time. They need to have at least 4 sacks in this game, just for them to have any chance at all. The Bengals secondary solid still. I mean the Bills secondary solid still. Still, it's not as strong though because Micah Hyde, who is one of the greatest safeties in the game, he's out for the year. But it is solid. It's a solid secondary, and it's still going to be difficult for Burrow to just simply pick them apart, but he can if there isn't a pass rush on the other side. I don't have to talk about Diggs. I don't have to talk about Davis. I don't have to talk about Knox. I will talk about Singletary and Moss and Hines because we need to see them, and Cook. We need to see these running backs do their thing. The Bills must run the ball 30 times, and if you have to split all 30 carries between all 4 of them, do it. But the Bills must run the ball 30 times, and Josh Allen must not run the ball 10. And he must not turn the ball over. He must be himself. If he could be like he was last year's wild card round, where he had more incompletions and more incompletions than more touchdowns and incompletions, that is the Josh Allen they need in this game and going forward. Not the one we saw Sunday. Who do I have in this game? Even though it is 5.5 points that the Bengals are underdogs in, I do not look at them as underdogs in this game. I should believe the Bengals will take this one. I think they will. I think, to me, they are stronger on offense in execution, and I like how they defensively are versus the Bills, because I think the Bills defense, it has not been talked about that much, but I really believe the Bills defense is really missing Von Miller hard. I mean, they're missing them. They're missing his presence. So I take the Bengals in this game. Ryan says, I don't trust the Bills' offensive line after their effort in protecting Josh Allen against the Dolphins. That's another good point. I don't either. Because I saw Allen run. It's a phrase, run for his life. But I saw him run for his life in that game, which that is not good, because that's the one thing that you could trust in. That offensive line of the Bills was solid, one of the best in the game, and people rarely talked about them. But yeah, how they were last Sunday, yeah, I don't trust them either, man. And you're good to think that, because I don't either. And then we get to the last game of the NFL divisional round. The Cowboys go into Santa Clara to play the 49ers. The Cowboys are 4-point underdogs, which means the 49ers are 4-point favorites. The over-under is 46.5, that's the least amount of points that Vegas thinks is going to be scored in this game. This one is real simple for me. It's real basic. Cowboys key to victory. Run the ball and keep running the ball and keep running the ball and keep running the ball. Even if it's 30 carries for 80 yards, keep running the ball. Because Dak Prescott is best with play action. Even if you don't even get 3 yards a carry, keep running the ball. Keep running the ball. Because you will eventually sucker in that defense. You will eventually get the 8-in-the-box scenario that you want to have, where Dak can throw over top of them. Keep Dak in situations where it is easy to manage. Don't have him be in first and second and third and long situations, and especially deep with his own territory, because a pick six will be had, if not just a straight up interception deep within the Cowboys territory, which he has been doing all until Monday. He didn't throw any interceptions Monday. In fact, he had his best performance Monday. 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, 1 rushing touchdown, 2. Threw the ball 33 times, 25 completions, 300 yards. That is the perfect number for him. He needs to keep that number, because they ran the ball 35 times for 128 yards. So don't forget Pollard. Don't forget Elliott. Keep running the ball. I don't care if it's the first quarter, the fourth quarter. I don't care if you're up by 10, down by 10. Keep running the ball, because you rest your defense and your offense gets more continuity that way. Defensively for the Cowboys, it's simple. Make Purdy remember he's a rookie in the NFL. Make him have happy feet. And you do that by slowing down the run and forcing Purdy out the pocket. Make things uncomfortable for Purdy. And that means Mr. DeMarcus Lawrence needs to have a bigger presence than usual. Yes, I know you got Micah Parsons, and he's fine. He'll probably be the spy on Purdy. But you make Purdy's life uncomfortable in the pocket, period. Slow down the run. Make him flushed out the pocket. Make him uncomfortable. Remind him that he's a rookie. On the opposite end, the 49ers defense is the best unit in football. I will say this on any microphone. The 49ers is the best unit in football, period. And what they need to do what they always do. Rush with 4, stop the run, make a defense run, make an offense one-dimensional, and then force turnovers. The game plan is simple. The attack is simple. D'Amico Ryans, the way he has that defense perking, he don't need to tweak a doggone thing. Keep doing what you're doing, basically, is what I have to say about the 49ers defense. So you render Dak to be one-dimensional with the rushing of 4. You eliminate play action. You force him to make throws that he shouldn't make, and life should be easy. Now, the Cowboys can beat the 49ers deep. That means that offensive line of the Cowboys is giving Dak some time, and the running game is actually doing its thing. But 49ers must slow down the run, and they must make Dak hurry. Offensively, you better make sure the number 13's jersey remains scarlet red with no green grass on it. No grass stain on that jersey. Keep him upright, flow with the run, and keep flowing with the run, and then take your shots downfield. And I would say take your shots downfield starting with Kittle, and then have it spread out. Then have Ayuk, then have Debo. But take your shots downfield and then throw them off with McCaffrey involved in the passing game and Devo in the running game. Who do I see winning this game? 49ers easily. And I'm not saying it's going to be a rout, and I'm not saying it's going to be an easy game for the 49ers, but I'm saying easily for the 49ers because this is a matchup for the 49ers that's easy for them to execute. They can what they need to do is make sure that they force the physicality upon them. Be more physical. Or I love this phrasing. This was said. Let me see. I'm trying to think. This was said in Rocky 3 in the Clubber Lang Rocky rematch, where the Apollo Creed's character said to the Rocky Balboa character, "Be more man than him." That is what the 49ers must impress upon the Cowboys. They got to be more man than the Cowboys. Force the physicality. Now, the way the Cowboys counter that is they need to match the physicality and say, well, you know what, doggone it, we're physical too. That's when it becomes a game. But you force what I've seen this year and last year, you force the physicality upon the Cowboys. They, for some reason, I don't know why that's the case. This is the case. They seem to wilt under being physical. I'm like, how and why? I don't get it. You're built to be physical, but you don't play physical. You play more finesse. I don't understand it. Rod West says, good morning, Cole and everyone. I hope everything's good with you, Rod. And Victor Laku is a huge Cowboys fan. He says, for the Cowboys, it's simple. Pray. I'm not going to say that it's not Vince McMahonish. It's not that the Cowboys have no chance against the 49ers. They have plenty of a chance. I just don't believe that the Cowboys can match the physicality that the 49ers bring. And if the 49ers bring the physicality, it's going to be a long day for the Cowboys. So that is how I'm breaking it down for the NFL divisional round weekend. I hope you enjoyed how I broke that down. And I think you all know what it's time for, because it is the bottom vibe number 2, and it is a Friday. So it's time for me to push that button.
Don't soil this program by putting crap on it. Joe Buck, I cannot take him. I just no dice. I'm glad Carlos Loser finally took the kiwi off his face. It should be on your shoes, not your face. It's kiwi shoe polish, for God's sake. LeBron should come clean about his age. I wish, baby Jesus, that I had alcohol in this container, because I need some after watching Screaming Nate Smith.
Baby Jesus? Really?
6 pounds, 7 ounces. Go tell 5 of your friends and 8 of your enemies that Chris Bass will be in the air.
The man who is the reformer of hookah whores, the transporter to Hades, and the bronze god, the one, the only, the mighty Chris Bass.
Thank you, Don Cornelius. Yes, thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. Of course, shout out to everybody out there in the chat. Good morning to all. Good morning, of course, to you, the mad scientist right there. Of course, good morning to the brethren of Snowman, Brian Snow, and of course, Wise All. So I hope everybody's enjoying themselves this morning.
Yeah, well, I hope everyone's enjoying themselves too, and I hope you've had a good morning too, man. All right, so what is on your brain right now?
Well, it has to do with a couple of things. First of all, dealing with Screaming A. Smith. And I'll say Stephen A. Smith for the sake of this conversation. So, of course, he's out there hawking his book, memoir, Straight Shooter. Right. And he's been doing the talk shows, what I've had a chance to catch a couple of them. Mm-hmm. One in particular, when he was on with Howard Stern. For those of you who are maybe not into broadcasting, I believe Howard Stern is probably one of the best interviewers on the planet. Despite reputation, despite what he has done to discuss people, his interviewing skills off the charts.
He's a slick interviewer. I agree with you.
Very, very intensive. So he had Stephen on, and Stephen, of course, was going through his book and asked him an in-depth question about how to be, or how are you friends with, say, people in the NBA, and then you turn around and criticize them or have an opinion, obviously. So he told his side of the story and everything else. What was interesting was when he, meaning Stephen, was on the Sean Hannity show on Fox, and he mentioned a comment about wanting to be the heir apparent to Jimmy Kimmel on his late night talk show on ABC.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was interesting, the wording of
Heir
how
apparent.
Stephen said it about the heir apparent. Now, that gave me pause, because I've been a fan of late night since I was a child. And going back to the days of the night show with Johnny Carson, and of course, fading to David Letterman. I even throw in Joan Rivers when she went with the Fox to do her show, and Arsenio Hall. Those, to me, coming up were lights out, fantastic. Great interviewers, performers, they get the job done.
Right.
And I'll share this with you. Even if I pursued myself a little stronger, I want to do late night radio. I mean, late night radio and TV at one point. But radio was my first love. I thought radio would draw me to the others. But I still have an affinity for people who host late night television. So let's give you a quick history for your people out there. When Johnny Carson did the Tonight Show, it used to be an hour and a half.
That's right.
It used to be 90 minutes. Yeah.
That's right.
For years. So the people before him, Steve Allen was the first host. Right. And he had Jack Parr. And then Johnny. And it wasn't until Johnny came along, and they had a technical, I think a technical, I think some not technical strike, but it was people who worked behind the scenes, techs and people behind that. They had an engineer strike. That's what it was.
Okay.
And Johnny had sided with the engineers on the strike. He went on strike as well. And so during the negotiations, Johnny was able to get the night show down to 1 hour. And that's how the 1 hour format started on talk shows.
Because I was about to say, all the talk shows copied him.
Exactly. Exactly. So going back to Stephen A. Smith saying he wants to be the heir apparent gave me pause, because does Jimmy Kimmel want to step down soon, or what is that
Right.
saying? Is it Stephen talking out of his ass, or there could be some validity to it? Once again, working at ABC, they all work at ABC and everything else. So
Right.
you hear rumors, obviously, in that building. So who's to
Right.
say? And once again, in the article, they said that Stephen A. Did fill in for Jimmy
He did.
at one point.
He
And
did.
so I guess he got the taste of it and wants to do it. So yeah, that's a cause for concern, because for me, if that was to happen, if Jimmy Kimmel says, okay, say in 2 or 3 years, I'm going to step down, I made my money, I've done what I can do, and it's time to leave. And he, meaning Stephen, gets that chair in that time slot. Which Stephen A. Smith will we get? Will we get the constant loudmouth Stephen A. Smith version on ESPN, or do we get a side of him nobody else sees? It's kind of similar to when Stephen Colbert from the Comedy Central took over for David Letterman, which we didn't know at the time which version we would get. Will we get the manufactured television version of Stephen Colbert, or do we get the real deal? And we got the real deal. So Stephen A. Smith hosting late night television, I don't know. What do you think?
Okay. So I think he's dipping his toe in that in those waters, and I think he's doing it with his podcast, No Mercy. And so I'm hearing him, and just putting on basically the journalist hat. I'm hearing him, and I'm saying to myself, I don't think I'm really interested in what he has to say or how he has to say it. There's times I find him funny, and there's many more times I don't. So I'm thinking, I'm not sure. And then and in the back of my mind was when, and I think this was sometime last year, where he did sit in for Jimmy Kimmel for I think for one show, and it was all right, but it's funny you mentioned the word manufactured. His performance there, it felt manufactured, especially the monologue portion of it. It was like, that's not really you, dude.
Right.
It's not you. You normally you do bullet points, you run off it. You reading through a teleprompter, jokes that are written for you. I'm not so sure. Now, in terms of the interviewing portion, I like him better in that regard.
Yeah.
But I like him better in that regard, like how he was in his Quite Frankly days, where he was strictly a journalist, and he was trying to get to things with people, and it flowed like a conversation. He's really good there. It's the other stuff, I like you as a human being portion of the talk show host, the late night talk show host, that I think he falters there, at least for now.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he can bridge that gap, but at least for now, when he did the monologue, it turned me off.
Yeah, I can see that, because whether it's him or other people filling in, they're used to writing for the main host, and rightfully so. I mean, no matter who the host is, they're writing for him or her. So you kind of like just get leftovers to a degree if you're filling in, unless you just were able, depending on who you are, to bring in your own writers, and they're able to, because they know your comedy stylist or whatever, and you work with the writers, they're all the staff of the show already, and then go from there. But in that situation, when you're just coming in as a solo host and no writers, that's what you get. And it's all about timing and comfort zone and delivery and all that type of thing. So yeah, it's just interesting, the wording, like I said before, of what he said and how he said it. I think, in my guess, I think Kim will still be around, because for one thing, he's not really, I mean, he's been around for a little bit, but you really want to soak it in. You really want to take time to have longevity in that type of field. And I heard rumor that it was David Letterman that got him the conversations with ABC.
I can see that.
Just knowing network people. So he owes a debt and a lot to Letterman. So I think he'll just be around a little bit longer.
I think so too. I mean, Jimmy's only 55, so it's not like we're talking about, and oh, by the way, Stephen A. Smith's the exact same age, so it's not
Me
like
too. So we're all in the same category, yeah.
right. So it's not that, to me, Jimmy is on the downward slope to retirement. I mean, I mean, he could still do this to me. I think he could still do this for 15, 20 more years, really, if he
I give
wants
you
to.
that. Yes. Mhm.
You know, so yeah, the heir apparent wording, I agree. I agree that that did seem a bit off putting in terms of
Yeah.
is Jimmy stepping down? Because I haven't heard any rumblings about Jimmy wanting to say, you know what, I've had my fill. I want to be at home with the family. I haven't
Right.
heard him say that yet. But it's funny you mentioned popping off at the mouth because seemingly in his tour of selling his memoir, he appeared Wednesday on Sherry Shepherd's show, Sherry. And Mr. Smith got in a little bit of hot water in saying, quote, ladies and gentlemen, she's, and when he's talking about she's talking about Rihanna, who's going to be a halftime performer in the Super Bowl, is a lot of things. She's spectacular, actually. And congratulations on new mamahood. There's one thing she's not. She ain't Beyonce. Close quote. So, of course, one of the things that we both know about Stephen A. Smith is he welcomes derision. he welcomes he welcomes the awkward responses. He doesn't mind in wrestling terms. He doesn't mind being the heel or the bad guy.
Right.
So, of course, you have a lot of fans who love Rihanna. I'm one of them, and and the derision and the backlash got so to where he actually had to apologize for that take.
Yeah.
So it looks like he's enjoying publicizing his book life.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, man. You know, who's to say maybe it wasn't done on purpose? Or sometimes you have to understand that some of these things are manufactured to get traction on the internet, obviously. So it wouldn't surprise me if it was a pre-planned to get people to notice him and to get to notice the book. And then in turn, you may have people who are quite interested in getting his memoir. So we'll see in time. But yeah, that was an interesting backwalk. I saw the apology he had on, I guess he's on the tour bus.
Yeah.
And they were recording it. And I was like, I don't think Rihanna is interested in you or gives two damns what you think about. I mean, she's Rihanna. So don't be wrong. I mean, it was just interesting to, you're fantastic. You're phenomenal. She know who the hell she is. Don't need you to come around, kissing ass and things of that nature. So it was funny to watch him semi moonwalk.
Yeah.
Away from that topic. Yes, it was that was fun.
I knew that's exactly where you were going to go with it because that's why I brought it up, because that was the focus of me. I'm thinking, you walked that back pretty hard, pretty tough, and pretty fast. Okay. That's quite interesting.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I think that probably was sort of I think it was sort of planned for him to do that and to, and read the room, simply because he covers sports, and I'm sure he geared himself from hearing questions about, well, so Rihanna is, in shows like with Sherry's. I don't know if Sherry asked this question, but a show like hers would probably ask the question, so Rihanna is going to be halftime show performance Super Bowl. What do you think of her? And he getting geared up to actually answer that question. Yeah.
Man. And also what I've seen on the internet that you can't unsee, and this is the reason why I wear dark glasses at home, want to see the whole thing. James Harden's feet has been I don't know what to call it. The one thing that came to mind was someone with a Louisville Slugger baseball bat and came up to him and beat the hell out of his feet. That's all, because they're swole, broken. I'm surprised he could still walk on them. And someone just laid the hammer down and just started to go to work on his feet. So he's in the locker room with Rochelle Nichols, and having a conversation. And the internet obviously is cruel because I've seen all types of responses to it. If you see them, there should be some sort of announcement or some sort of prerequisite to tell you, look, enter carefully before watching this particular picture.
Enter carefully.
Yeah, and because you may be blind in one eye, can't see out the other if you're not careful.
Oh no!
It can destroy one retina. It really can. So God bless them.
Oh my gosh!
I'd rather see the beard than to see the beat up feet. I mean, good night.
As base peruse social media. Oh my god.
Yeah, Doc, I'm minding my own business or going through social media like I always do, and the beat up feet. James Harden pops up, and it's just not a good look. I'm sure they've asked him about it. Listen, you know how I feel about feet, man. You got to take care of them and things of that nature. But I think it's lost cause at this point. You can't save feet. You can put all types of holy water on it and try to baptize them and everything else, but it can't be saved. Nothing can save you. This is the season. The catching the vapors because your feet stink. So yeah, that type of thing. So no, it wasn't pleasant. It reminded me of The Mummy. It reminded me like the Mummy movies. Before he got bound, and then he got bound, and
Harden's feet remind you of The Mummy.
The Mummy.
Okay,
not the black and white. The ones with Brendan Fraser in it.
Yeah.
Right. Those. Yeah. Man, I mean, those feet need to be bound and gagged.
Oh Lord. Okay.
You know how the Mummy would, drag his feet and everything else,
right?
Because somebody beat the hell out of him. If somebody beat the hell out of your feet, and then bound and gagged them, and you drag and you're doing 2 miles an hour, so everybody sees you. That's not on, like you want to. You had no other choice.
Beating the feet. Oh my gosh. It gives a whole new meaning to the term beat feet. Okay.
That's right.
Oh Lord. Victor, he says, Stephen might be a bit calmer because he'll be dealing with more topics other than sports. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
But I think he still has a lot. I think he still has a lot to learn in order to actually do the art correctly.
Yeah.
6 says, how much grimy chapstick did Screaming A. Smith use before the brown nosing? I think a lot.
I could smell it from here.
Ryan McCarthy, alluding to James Harden's feet, it says it was Kathy Bates in Misery. She put Harden's feet to work.
I think hobbling would be an improvement. You've seen the scene from, it's a classic movie, when you talk about Misery with Kathy Bates and James Caan.
James Caan. Mm-hmm.
So James Caan is laying up in the bed, that poor bastard, and he can't do anything. She gets that 2x4, puts it in between the ankles of the feet, gets the sledgehammer, not Peter Gabriel, gets the sledgehammer, and then both feet by the ankles, they call it hobbling, so nobody won't go anywhere. It looked, I see a door and its hinges swing back and forth. We just swung and it stayed there.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Oh my God.
That would be an improvement. What I saw online with his feet, man. Take the hobble. I take the hobble for 200, Alex.
Oh my gosh, you are a fool. Yeah. Victor says
I'm sorry,
no.
Ken.
Victor says no sick. He doesn't use grimy chapstick. He uses Lightfoot lotion.
Oh, that's disgusting.
That is disgusting.
that's disgusting. Victor, you know better than that, man. It's too early for that.
6 says, Sig Dicky says, and folks thought Dennis Rodman's feet were horrendous. And I was going to actually go to something of that nature.
Yeah.
2 miles an hour like the Summertime song.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. You all giving me flashbacks to late 80s and early 90s songs. First, it was Biz Markie. Then it was Peter Gabriel. Now it is good Lord, Jazzy Jeff the Fresh Prince.
Yes.
Goodness gracious. And then this one right here. The Boom Shakalaka with Chris Bass is brought to you by Sleazy Salon. No mani-pedis, just hands and feet done.
And we beat the crap out of them. We take our baseball bats and beat them to death.
Oh, I love that. Nice. No,
yeah, man. I feel sorry for him, really. I mean, it's just, it's not that you can't go back and cover them. It's too late. Everybody's seen it. It's all exposed.
But okay, all right. I have already come to the understanding that when it comes to athletes' feet, and I'm not talking about the condition, I'm actually talking about the cosmetic look of them.
Right.
That they can compete with ballerinas for how ugly they look. Because I mean, I've seen LeBron James's feet, and gosh, I mean, look like It looked like the feet were crossing fingers. Let me see. I've seen Dennis
Jacks.
Rodman. Yeah, I've seen Dennis Rodman's feet, and then we get to one of my favorite interviews that I have seen in the last month and a half, and that would be the I don't approve of the name, the Club Shay Shay interview with Deion Sanders. Now, I was actually proud of Shannon because he actually was doing a wonderful job interviewing.
He did.
Beautiful job. Beautiful interview job.
Yes, it was.
I almost had to turn off, though, the interview when they went to Deion's feet as it was being massaged.
Yeah.
Because it turns out that my man only now is in possession of 8 toes.
Right.
So you talked about James Harden's feet. I guess I'll talk about Deion Sanders' feet. Now on a serious tip, though,
yes,
it needed to have happened because he found out that his family dealt with blood clots, and it was checked out that his feet were black, and it needed to happen before, of course, that condition worsened, got further up his body, and then he would die for no reason, and it was spread.
Right.
So Shannon basically acted like a homeboy in that moment and clowned Deion hard. And Deion, to his credit, took it like a champ. If you were to have been in Shannon's shoes and you were to see Deion's feet at the time, would you have gone off on him like Shannon did?
Oh yeah, yeah. That's my homeboy. We go back to babies and pacifiers. That's what you're supposed to do. I mean, that's what a friend does. It's funny you mentioned that. I'll get to the interview and I get to my own quagmire when it comes to best friends. So yes, I thought it was a lovely interview. I thought it was very telling of both men being brothers, and that's what brothers do. That's what you rank on your brother. You talk about him. You let him have it, but it's all done in love. And I give Deion credit for actually showing his toes being removed because it's a very private thing.
Yeah.
And the fact that he showed, it could probably give an example of other people going through it, and they'll feel better. So Deion Sanders can show the fact that unfortunately his toes are missing, and the person looking at it maybe have a similar situation, not the same, with their life going on. You never know who you inspire. So kudos to him, and then kudos to Shannon, just giving the business like homies do.
Yeah, and that's another thing I think has been missing in the Deion Sanders criticism is, and to me, there's nothing to criticize in my personal opinion, but the dude always is looking to inspire no matter where it is. When he was a player, he was that way. When he was a youth coach, he was that way. When he was at Jackson State, he's that way. And now at Colorado, he's that way. And even in that interview, he was that way. It's like, whoever I can inspire with whatever it is that's going on with me, more power to you. And I hope my life is an example for you to do better. So I have actually, I wouldn't say I don't really think I've ever hated Deion Sanders, but it was more along the lines of he's cool, he's okay when he was a player. Back when we were young adults, I was like, okay, he's cool, he's all right. I mean, he doesn't ruffle my feathers. It doesn't really do anything that makes me say I gotta follow him either. But I respected him. I respected he was a 2-star athlete, and I respected that he was actually better than I thought he would be at baseball, and he was, of course, a stud in football. And then, but I started to gather more respect for him when he retired, when he was more invested in pouring into the youth, and when he was an analyst on TV, and he learned how to actually do that well. And I mean, he to me was one of the best football analysts on TV when he was on.
I agree.
And then, of course, it spiraled into the coaching aspect of things. And the more I seem to get in tune with Deion post playing, the more I seem to really like the dude.
Oh yeah, and people, when they allow themselves to grow and mature and to be, as I say, better, or I also use the word different versions of yourself, because you should look back and notice the change within yourself, and you allow yourself to evolve. And if you don't, you'll be 25 into your 40s. That's not cool.
No.
Allow yourself to age gracefully and to go about that route. And speaking of aging gracefully, I mean, to go back to the whole best friend thing.
Yes.
So I've had a slight dilemma, but I solved the problem in my head. When I was doing my Wednesday show on CBI, when the guests can't show up for whatever reason, I get no one. So no one usually shows up. No one the most consistent guest people I ever have. So when there's nobody to be there, I call on no one. No one shows up, and I thank God no one is there. So that's usually what happens. So I'm doing the show, and I mentioned to the audience that a good friend of mine who asked me about how are they doing doing a form of broadcasting, and this person's been doing it for a while, and but to tell the complete truth, they never went to school for broadcasting. They just kind of fell into it. And I do believe in natural talent. Don't get me wrong, you have natural talent to do this. Nothing wrong with it. And especially have somebody in your quarter who's done this and can help guide you, him or her, then I think you could benefit from it. The older I get, I become a very strong, strict person when it comes to broadcasting. And I taught this, not to brag, but just to give my credentials. When I was at Columbia College Chicago, my alma mater, in my second year instructing, I came back, which was amazement to me from the department, for me to co-write the talk radio curriculum. So I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm saying.
Of course.
So with this friend of mine I've known for years, I said to myself, do I tell that person the truth or do I just dance around it? Because if we're homies and we're supposed to be best friends, I should be able to tell you anything that's on my mind if you ask me. But I think what happens with certain people, Cole, is that when they say, tell me the truth, they want to hear what they want to hear.
They want to hear.
Not because of what you have to say. They want it to match up. And sometimes it doesn't match up.
Yeah.
So when it doesn't match up, as some people get all up in their feelings, they turn their ass to you and stuff like that, and things of that nature.
Yeah.
And you could feel funky, but you asked me, how do I feel about you doing A, B, and C? And it wasn't the answer that you wanted, but it's the answer you got nonetheless. So I come to the conclusion, in fact, after I do this segment with you, get everything taken care of, I'm going to call my buddy and then talk about what I really believe that person needs to work on. And I'm still let it just fall where they may.
Yeah. Well, see, here's the thing. I've learned that best friendships, when it actually grows. It's funny, we were talking about Shannon Sharp and Deion Sanders. Best friendships, when they are healthy, you can actually take that type of criticism that someone will have towards you if it's solicited, and you would understand that it's sort of an iron, going biblical. It's an iron sharpens iron type of thing. And it's okay, well, you're doing it in love type of thing.
Right.
And you don't take it as criticism. You take it you take it, you don't take it as an insult. You take it as criticism, and you take it as, okay, this person sees that I'm good, but if I do this, I'll be better. Okay. And I'll admit, I've had some issues in my own life in doing that. Heck, I mean, I can bring my wife on the show and she say, yeah, there are times, Cole, that when I told you something, you'd fall off the handle because you're defensive. And yeah, I mean, I understand that. But like you said, time, maturity, all that happens. And then all of a sudden you start to realize, okay, so if this person loves me enough and respects me enough, they'd want to see me advance to the next level in life.
Right.
And so if that's the case, a person seeing me in the next level in life would not just be a yes man or yes woman. They would be a person who would have my best interest at heart and say, and basically say to me, yeah, you fall short here, and I think this is why, and I believe if you do this, you would actually correct falling short here, and you would actually correct yourself.
Absolutely.
It takes a lot of maturity to do that, and yeah, and I have learned over the years that if you can say that to a person, but they take it as if it's criticism, then that isn't a best friend. But
I totally agree.
Yeah. But if they can take it, then that means that they value who you are as a person. They value your opinion. They value your wisdom.
Well, at the same time, when you speak from the heart and you're truthful with people, sometimes it's the truth they don't want to hear. Sometimes truth hurts.
Yeah.
And that's established since the beginning of time. And again, I think that if someone's trying to help you, you may not want the medicine, but the medicine will be good for you.
Oh yeah.
It will help you eventually, because again, if I'm seeing you do these things or hear you do these things, and you ask me my opinion, I gotta pull you to the side. Look, man, you got to work on A, B, and C. And if you need my advice or need my assistance, I will help. Because some people would take it the wrong way, or they're just player hating, and that's not what I wanted to hear, and things like that.
Right.
It's a matter of making you better.
Yeah.
And that's all what it is. And so once again, for the past few days, I'm kind of struggling with it, but I got to the conclusion that no, man, if we go way back, like we say, then what I should be able to say should not hurt. And I remember one time someone told me, sometimes you're gonna break some hearts, and you don't mean to break any hearts, but it's the truth as I see it. Since you asked me my take on the whole thing, so
there you go.
It's going to be interesting. So I look forward to the conversation, with that person, and then we'll take it from there, because all I want to do to that person be better. That's all. And and my thing is this: doing talk is not as easy as people think it is. It really isn't. I mean, from the standpoint of when people listen and they say I can do that, it is also an insult to anybody who has put sweat equity into this. You have to listen and learn. I got into talk radio when I was 19, and so that's what I wanted to do. And then when I actually got into it professionally, I listened to everybody that came my way, and I took notes, and I wanted to be better. I wanted to be better. So everybody has that drive within themselves to improve. You have to want to improve. You have to want to gain knowledge. You have to want to be better, because in theory, even though everybody's around you, you're really in competition with yourself.
Drop that nugget, Chris.
Yes, sir.
Yes, 100% agree with you. It took me to my ripe old age of now to learn I am not in competition with anybody else. I'm in competition with myself.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
And in the spirit of that, here I am. I've done this for a few years myself. Not I didn't get into it as early as you did, and I find myself, I'm and of course I look at both your shows often.
Thank you.
And I'm proud of it from the standpoint of I know you've heard it because we grew up in the same generation. You've heard it and I've heard it. Black men can't work together. And if that black man isn't doing what you're doing, then you should knock him out, because you should be that guy in that position. I don't have that feel, because every time I see you interview somebody or just basically talk extemporaneously about whatever subject it is on your mind, I'm like, now that's what I'm talking about. That's my brother right there. That is my brother in broadcasting. He's doing his thing. I'm so happy for him. And I learned from it. And I learned from you. And I pull from you. Because I'm like, man, okay, how he asked that question, I'm gonna have to do that in my future interviews. Or whenever I do have no one and I interview no one. Okay, I think I could do this when I'm interviewing no one. But I learn a lot from you, and you are such a great resource, and you've become such. I mean, I've only known you 9 months, but it feels like I've known you a lot longer than that. And I don't mean I don't mean it in a bad sense. I mean in a great sense. Because it's like, man, because I'm saying to myself, man, where has this guy been all my life?
Oh, well, look, brother, it's I just said earlier in the conversation about iron sharpening iron. It's amazing how your take on visual and videos are what they are. You helped change the game on my 2 programs by creating the intros for CBI and for Baseline. And even the special I did with the holiday, Chris Bay Salt Bash, the holiday party, even the guests during the holiday show were impressed by the opening. So I'm gonna try to send you business, some business your way. Some people talk, but they don't really deliver. So I gotta be careful who I send your way, because I'd probably get a baseball bat and beat up their feet.
I hear you. I totally
Yeah.
understand it. I totally understand it.
That's right. I got a Louisville Slug in my room, man. I'm telling you.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. Look, you are a treasure in my life, man. And if I haven't said it often enough to you, I apologize. But
Oh,
you are,
man.
man. And I appreciate
thank
everything
you.
you do, man.
Same here, brother. I love and respect you much more.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Man, I could continue. Look, I could derail all in the chat and not pay attention to them and have a conversation with you that like this for another, I don't know, another hour or two. But please tell the people where they can find you and how they can find you and when they can find you.
Thank you, Cole Johnson. For those of you out there who dare to think, to dare to be entertained, the thing about what I do is very simple. It's informative and somewhat entertaining. That's all I got. So for those of you who are interested in that, go to facebook.com and type in the following Chris Bass, CHRISB, as in broadcasting ASE. Now you will see thousands upon thousands of Chris Bass in the system, which again, they're perpetrating a fraud, and we can't have that. So when you see me, you recognize me, nice tan fedora, the same glasses. I do photograph quite well when I'm sober, and then you take a look at that and then become friends. You get a chance to check out both my programs, CBI and Baseline, for more information. Please, don't walk, don't run, just saunter, and go tell 5 of your friends and 8 of your enemies that Chris Bass will be in the air.
That is one of my favorite taglines that I've ever heard. I love that.
Thank you, brother.
5 of your friends and 8 of your enemies. Man, it doesn't matter if it's comedy or if it's straight up wisdom. I gain something every time I speak with you, and I'm so glad that I got a chance to do it this time. This was a pleasure. A treasure, a jewel, and a wonderful man. And yes, check out CBI Wednesdays, check out Baseline on Fridays. You will definitely love it, and you will fall in love with him. This is Chris Bass, who joins us every Friday, 9:35 Eastern, 8:35 Central. And if you're on the West Coast, it's 6:35. So thank you again, Chris. I totally appreciate it, and I love every time you're on.
I love it more. Thank you so much. Have a good weekend, Cole, and a good weekend to everybody out there. Enjoy yourselves.
Same to you, sir.
Don't soil this program by putting crap on it. Joe Buck, I cannot take him. I just no dice. I'm glad Carlos Boozer finally took the kiwi off his face. It should be on your shoes, not your face. It's kiwi shoe polish, for God's sake. LeBron should come clean about his age. I wish baby Jesus that I had alcohol in this container, because I need some after watching Screaming A. Smith.
Baby Jesus? Really?
6 pounds, 7 ounces. Go tell 5 of your friends and 8 of your enemies that Chris Bass will be in the air.
Again, that is Chris Bass, who joins us every Friday, 9:30, 9:35 Eastern, 8:30, 8:35 Central. And if you're on the West Coast, it's around 6:30, 6:35. You're probably up yawning and drinking coffee by the time you're about to laugh your face and learn more about who you are. Sick, before I go, I will definitely say hello to the Fanatic Feedback Zone, one of the livest chats in the place. Of course, I think Cole Sports also has that too. Six says, now that's an ad. Well, I'm glad you appreciate it, brother. You wrote a good ad. You got it delivered to you. And Trisha. And yes, I'll get back with you off air at sometime soon. She says, Grand Rising to you, Queen. Ryan says, everyone needs a little sandpaper in their lives. Yeah. Yeah. And mine comes in the form of my wife, because she she accepts excellence and nothing below it. And if she didn't, I wouldn't be possibly how I am presented before you right now, even. Good morning, Aunt Tricia, from Victor and from Sick. And Aunt Tricia saying that she's enjoying the King and loving the Kingdom building vibe and this morning. Thank you. That's how we're supposed to roll, I believe. Ryan says the real Chris Base has a bronze god fedora. Six says, speaking of baseball bats, way to go, Sammy. He says it again. And to close it out, Ryan says, rule number 4 in Dr. Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules of Life. Quote, compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today. Close quote. Well, that will do it for this installment of Snowman in the Moment. Cole Johnson, I am so glad that you joined me on this ride, doing it solo with a couple of guests. You all were absolutely fantastic. The Fanatic Feedback Zone, thank you. The viewers out in the BS3 network, thank you. Viewers on Roku TV, thank you. The listeners, no matter where we are, thank you. And if you download it, thank you as well. On behalf of Brian Snow, on behalf of Wise El Jefe, on behalf of the Playmaker, on behalf of Ryan McCarthy and Sam Shady and Chris Bass, and let's see if I can think of others, of producer Clark and of Chris Dietz and of Jay and of Jay Spivey and definitely of the Snowman. This is Cole Johnson wishing you all to take care of yourself and God bless. Remember, make your next move your best move. And always remember, if your dreams don't scare you, then unfortunately, my friend, you're fired. And who can dream bigger dreams than you? Take that with you. Dream big, do bigger. That's what we're all doing here. That's what we hope that you all are doing out there, listening or watching, or listening and watching. For everybody else, the Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson. I am Cole Johnson. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Take care. God bless you. And whomever you're rooting for this weekend, I hope they win for you. I'm just rooting for 4 good games, so that's all I need. Till we come back Monday, we will touch on NHL protocol, concussion protocol, and of course, we will have Coffee with McCarthy, the hour number 1 to finish off, and to finish off hour number 2 on Monday, we will have Jay Spivey. But until then, have a good weekend. So long, everybody. Oh, and before I go, Ryan says please join him and stop by tonight for the No Credentials Required live stream, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Pacific time, where he will be they will be previewing the NFL divisional playoff round. That will be worth all of your while. Have a good day, everybody.